Imagine this: Christmas Eve dinner in a cozy Colorado mountain home, snow falling softly outside the big windows, the fireplace crackling, the smell of pine, ham, and cinnamon rolls filling every corner. The table is loaded: golden turkey, mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce, laughter bouncing off the walls. Everyone's in holiday sweaters, glasses clinking, kids running around earlier but now settled. Then, my grandfather, strong, silver haired, the man who built a fortune in custom woodworking and furniture manufacturing, slams his fist down so hard the china rattles and the candles flicker. His voice cuts through the warm chatter like a blade through silk. Why the hell is a complete stranger sitting in the CEO chair of the multi-million-dollar furniture factory I bought and gifted to my granddaughter 5 years ago? I, Elena Hayes, freeze mid-bite, fork hovering with a piece of honey-glazed ham halfway to my mouth. My heart slams against my ribs, but on the outside, pure, wide-eyed shock. I slowly lower the fork. My voice comes out small, trembling, perfect confusion. Grandpa, what? I don't own anything like that. I barely have enough in my savings for next month's rent. What are you even talking about? The room goes dead silent. You could hear the snowflakes hitting the windows. My dad's hand tightens around the carving knife until his knuckles bleach white. Mom's smile vanishes, her face turning the color of the tablecloth. My older sister, Claire, and her husband, Mark, exchange that lightning-fast, guilty glance, the kind that says, "We're screwed." No one breathes. Grandpa leans forward, eyes locked on me, but really scanning every face. 3 weeks ago, one of my oldest suppliers called me by accident, thought I was still running things behind the scenes. He congratulated me on the smooth transition, said the new owner, a guy named Marcus Reed, has been doing wonders. New machinery, expanded lines to luxury hotels across the Rockies, profits up 20%. Marcus Reed. Ring any bells, Elena? I shake my head slowly, eyes huge. Marcus Reed? I've never heard that name in my life. Inside, my pulse is racing 100 miles an hour, but I keep it together. I watch. I wait. The tension is so thick it hurts to breathe. And then, sirens, red and blue lights flashing through the snow outside. 2 sheriff deputies knock politely but firmly on the door. Have you ever been stabbed in the back by the people who were supposed to protect you? The ones who smiled to your face while they stole your future? If you've got a story like that, drop it in the comments right now. I read every single one. Tell me where you're from. Texas, Florida, California, London, Sydney, Toronto, whatever. I want to know what you've survived. And if you're hooked and need to see how this all explodes, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on the bell. Part 2 is coming soon. You don't want to miss it. The deputies step inside, snow melting off their boots onto the rug. Everyone's frozen. Grandpa doesn't even blink. He just nods toward the stack of papers he brought in his leather satchel. Tax filings, corporate records, emails from the supplier, slid across the table like evidence in a courtroom drama. Claire leans in first, face flushed red. "This has to be a mistake, Grandpa. Maybe they got the company name wrong. There are tons of furniture manufacturers in Colorado." Mom jumps right in, hand on Grandpa's arm, voice too sweet. "Dad, you're exhausted. That long flight from the East Coast, the altitude change. Memories play tricks. Let's not ruin Christmas over a phone mix-up." Dad nods along, carving another slice of ham nobody's touching anymore. It's the holidays, family time. Business can wait till tomorrow when everyone's clear-headed. I sit there, letting confusion wash over my face like I'm hearing this for the first time. Soft, hurt voice. "The last 5 years, I've been struggling so hard. After college, I moved into that tiny studio apartment in Denver. Thin walls, no heat in winter, summer like an oven. I lived on ramen and discount coffee for months. One Christmas, I couldn't even afford real gifts, just homemade cards and a couple candy canes from the dollar store. If there was a company in my name, why didn't anyone ever tell me? Why did I think I was broke while everyone else seemed fine? My voice cracks just right. The guilt flickers across their faces like shadows from the fire. Grandpa keeps going, calm but relentless. The supplier said Marcus Reed upgraded the CNC machines, landed contracts with high-end ski resorts, even started exporting to Canada, profits pouring in, and the papers show him as full owner. Claire shifts uncomfortably. Mark stares at his plate, pushing peas around. Mom pours water with shaking hands. Dad clears his throat, tries to pivot. Let's have pie. Apple pie's cooling. Come on, it's Christmas. I press gently. Grandpa, did he say anything else about the ownership change? He recounts more, the supplier mentioning board meetings, new hires, how smoothly everything transitioned. Each detail lands like a punch. The Christmas lights on the tree blink mockingly now. The warmth is gone. Dad sighs, long and dramatic. Look, 5 years ago, right after you graduated, Grandpa put the factory in your name. Beautiful gesture. But you were 23, no experience. Running a company that size, it could have ruined you. Bad decisions, lawsuits, bankruptcy. We stepped in, just temporary, to protect it for you until you were ready. Mom nods quickly. We were terrified someone would take advantage of you or that you'd make mistakes that cost everything Grandpa worked for. All we wanted was to keep it safe, for your future. Claire chimes in fast. It was a family decision, protective. Nobody wanted you overwhelmed. I let the hurt show, brows furrowed, voice thick. So you managed everything? Made decisions? Without ever telling me? Why shut me out completely if it was just protection? Dad reassures. Routine stuff only. Contracts, payroll, reinvesting profits. Nothing permanent. You'd get it back when you were ready. Mom adds warmth. We didn't want to stress you while you were finding your feet. Grandpa shakes his head, points to the documents. These filings show full transfer, not a trust, not temporary, outright to Marcus Reed. Dad's smile twitches. Maybe some paperwork for taxes. LLC rules in Colorado sometimes need updates for liability. I ask softly, eyes glistening. So those updates accidentally made a stranger the owner? Claire mutters about clerical errors, common in state records. Mom promises transparency soon. Dad suggests talking after the holidays. Grandpa stays quiet. The excuses pile up. Technicalities, good intentions, misunderstandings. No one admits the sale. Sweat beads on Dad's forehead. Claire avoids my eyes. The tree lights cast long shadows across tense faces. Grandpa finally turns to Claire. Do you remember signing anything related to the company these past few years? She blinks hard, voice higher. Just some powers of attorney, minor stuff. Mom and Dad asked, for day-to-day while Elena got settled. Grandpa pulls out his phone, makes one call. Come in. The door opens. Grandpa's longtime attorney, Mr. Lawson, walks in with a briefcase, snaps it open, folders everywhere. He starts with the authorization form, supposedly my signature, but the date matches a weekend I was documented at a job fair in Boulder, 3 hours away. Side-by-side comparisons show differences: loop sizes, pen pressure, slant. Printer forensics. The yellow tracking dots say the document was printed months later than dated. Dad tries. Replacement copies get new dates sometimes. Archival reasons. Mom agrees. Notaries reprint lost originals all the time. Claire blames backlogs. I ask innocently, so what does that mean for who actually controls the factory? More explanations, more cracks. Then Mr. Lawson pulls out emails, anonymous tips sent to every company where I applied after graduation, entry-level design, manufacturing, management roles, messages saying I was unreliable, dramatic, quit projects halfway, bad team fit. Headers trace back to the home IP. Claire spins on Mom. Why did you make me write those? You said it was to keep her safe, away from jobs too far or too stressful. Mom's eyes fill with tears. I was worried. I didn't want her alone in strange cities. Dad tries to calm. It was about steering her toward local stability, family nearby if she needed us. Voices rise. Blame shifts. Claire distances herself. Mom cries about protection. Dad pleads context. Grandpa raises a hand. Silence falls. His voice is ice. Months ago, when reports started looking off, I updated my will. Everything, properties, investments, trusts, now goes only to Elena. Nothing for any of you. Mr. Lawson slides the new will across, seals shining. Then the final blow. Signature comparisons on the transfer docs to Marcus Reed. Matches Claire's samples, 99% certainty. Bank wires from the sale? Straight to a joint account Mom and Dad control. Claire crumbles, confesses. We needed cash fast. Dad's real estate side business was drowning, suppliers threatening liens, bank calling loans. We sold the factory to Marcus, quick, quiet buyer. I found him through contacts. Mom sobs. Dad grips the table. Tears everywhere. Grandpa's voice never rises. You stole what was meant for her security. Years of lies. Interference. Mr. Lawson mentions Colorado fraud statutes, penalties, forgery charges. Knock at the door. Deputies return, with warrants. Photos of evidence. Summons served. Claire sobs openly. Mom collapses into her chair. Dad stares down. I speak last, voice steady now. No more act. You chose your comfort over my future, sold what wasn't yours. Now the consequences are yours alone. Deputies leave. Silence crashes in. Holiday music sounds ridiculous. Mom reaches out, begging forgiveness. Dad mumbles about pressure. Claire cries how it spiraled. I say nothing more. The night ends in ruins. Like, subscribe, comment your own betrayal story below. I read them all. Where are you watching from? Let's talk. See you soon. The deputy's boots crunch away through the snow, leaving the front door ajar just long enough for a blast of icy wind to sweep across the dining room. The Christmas tree lights keep blinking, red, green, gold, like nothing happened. But everything has. Mom's mascara is streaking down her cheeks. Dad's shoulders are hunched like he's aged 10 years in 10 minutes. Claire is clutching Mark's arms so hard her nails are white. Mark looks like he wants to disappear into the floorboards. Grandpa stands up slowly, gathers the papers with deliberate calm and tucks them back into his satchel. He doesn't say another word. He just looks at me once, long, steady, proud, and walks toward the guest room hallway. The message is clear. This night is over. I stay seated a moment longer. The ham on my plate has gone cold. I push the chair back, stand, and walk out without looking at any of them. No goodbyes, no tears, just the soft click of the front door behind me as I step into the snowy driveway, keys already in my hand. That was the last Christmas we ever spent under the same roof. The next morning, Christmas Day, I woke up to my tiny Denver studio to the sound of my phone buzzing nonstop. Texts from Mom. Please call me, Elena. We can explain. From Dad. This is all a misunderstanding. Come home. Let's talk. From Claire. I never wanted this. I'm so sorry. Please don't hate me. I read them once. Then I blocked every number. Every single one. The civil lawsuit hit the Larimer County Courthouse 2 weeks later. Grandpa's attorney, Mr. Lawson, filed it on my behalf. Fraudulent conveyance, forgery, breach of fiduciary duty, unjust enrichment. The complaint was thick, over 100 pages of exhibits. Those signature comparisons, the IP-traced sabotage emails, the wire transfers into mom and dad's account labeled consulting fee, furniture asset transfer, the new will revoking everything else. Discovery was brutal. We deposed Dad first. He sat in the conference room in a cheap suit he probably bought at the outlet mall, trying to look dignified. Mr. Lawson asked the same question 5 different ways. When did you first realize the factory was no longer in Elena's name? Dad kept repeating variations of, "We always intended it to be temporary, for her protection," until Mr. Lawson slid the bank statement across the table, showing the $4.2 million wire from Marcus Reed, dated 3 weeks after the forged transfer documents. Dad stared at it like it might catch fire. Then he mumbled, "We were in trouble, the real estate side. Suppliers were pulling credit. The bank was foreclosing on 3 properties. We needed cash fast. Marcus was a clean buyer, quick close, no questions." Mom's deposition was worse. She cried the entire time, kept saying, "I was protecting her. She was so young. I didn't want her to fail." Mom's face crumpled. "I asked Claire to help, just to discourage certain jobs. I thought it was kinder than letting her move to Chicago or Seattle and struggle alone." Claire broke fastest. She showed up with her own lawyer, paid for by Mark's parents apparently. But the moment Mr. Lawson put the signature overlay in front of her, she started shaking. "I signed the transfer papers, yes, but Mom and Dad said it was just paperwork to restructure for tax reasons. They said Elena would never know because she wasn't interested anyway." She looked straight at the mirror where she knew I was watching from the other side. "I thought I was helping the family. I didn't think it would hurt her this much." Marcus Reed, he lawyered up hard, claimed good faith purchaser for value, said he did all the due diligence Colorado law required. The judge agreed, partially. We couldn't claw back the full company, but we did get a judgment for $2.8 million in restitution, plus interest, plus punitive damages for the fraud. Structured payments over 8 years, secured by liens on Marcus's other holdings. It wasn't everything, but it was enough. The fallout spread like wildfire. Dad's real estate development company filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy 6 months later. Equipment auctioned off, trucks repossessed. The big spec homes he was building in Estes Park foreclosed and sold at a loss. The man who used to brag about building legacies ended up driving for Uber in Fort Collins, wearing the same jacket he once wore to closing dinners. Mom and Dad sold the mountain house, the one with the big windows and the view of Long's Peak. They moved into a 2-bedroom rental in Loveland. No fireplace, no tree, no holiday lights. Mom started working part-time at a craft store. Dad barely left the apartment. Claire and Mark's marriage didn't survive the year. She filed for divorce right after the criminal investigation kicked off. The DA charged her with forgery and conspiracy to commit fraud. She took a plea, probation, restitution, 200 hours community service. Mark kept the house in Boulder, but moved his new girlfriend in 6 months later. Claire moved back to her college town in Nebraska, working at a small furniture outlet, trying to rebuild a reputation that had been shredded on every local business Facebook group. Grandpa moved into a nice condo in downtown Denver, just 10 minutes from my place. He never once said, "I told you so." He just showed up with coffee most mornings, sat in the corner of my new office, and offered advice when I asked. Sometimes he didn't say anything at all, just watched with that quiet pride. And me? I took every cent of the settlement and started over. I founded Rocky Peak Cold Chain Logistics. Not furniture this time. Specialized refrigerated transport and storage for Colorado's craft breweries, organic farms, artisanal cheesemakers, and boutique meat producers. Small clients, local routes, flexible contracts. I leased my first small warehouse in Thornton with a walk-in cooler that barely hummed, bought 2 used reefer trucks at auction, hired 3 drivers who believed in the vision. The first 6 months were hell. Cold calls that went to voicemail, trade shows where bigger companies laughed at my one-page brochure, payroll that sometimes waited until the last possible second, nights when I stared at the ceiling wondering if I'd made a mistake. But then the first repeat client came, then referrals. A brewery in Fort Collins loved that we delivered at 3 a.m. so their tanks stayed chilled. A goat cheese farm in Paonia said we were the only ones who didn't charge extra for mountain routes. Word spread. Year 1, break even. Year 2, first profit. Small bonuses for the team. Year 3, second warehouse in Pueblo, third truck. Employee health insurance. Year 4, satellite storage in Grand Junction, sponsoring the Colorado Brewers Guild Festival, Chamber of Commerce Small Business Award. Grandpa came to the ribbon cutting for the Pueblo facility. He wore his old wool coat, stood beside me while I cut the red tape, and whispered, "You built this with your own hands. That's worth more than any inheritance." I never looked back. Contact with the family? Gone. Mom tried a few times, letters through Grandpa, mutual friends, even a birthday card with a $20 bill tucked inside like I was still 10 years old. I sent them back unopened. Boundaries aren't cruel, they're survival. The betrayal scar is still there. Some nights I remember the Christmas lights flickering while Claire cried and Dad stared at the summons. But the anger has dulled into something quieter. Distance, clarity. I don't hate them, I just don't need them. Now, Christmas looks different. A small tree in my office lobby, lights along the warehouse doors for the night shift, hot cocoa and cookies for the drivers on Christmas Eve, a toast with Grandpa over whiskey, talking about next year's routes, fuel prices, new clients. And every December, I post anonymously in the same online forums I used to read when I was hurting. Stories come in, sisters who forged deeds, parents who drained trusts, brothers who sold family land. I answer when I can, share lawyer names, suggest documents to request. Tell them, you don't owe forgiveness to people who never asked for it honestly. One girl from Wyoming wrote me last year. Her aunt had quietly transferred a family ranch into her own name while the girl was in nursing school. She won her case, restored title, got damages, sent me a photo of the ranch sign with her name on it again. That photo is framed on my desk. Grandpa says it best over coffee some mornings. Justice is never perfect, but growing stronger than the people who tried to break you, that's the real win. So, here I am, running a company that's mine, surrounded by people who earned their place, living a life built on truth instead of lies. If you've made it this far, thank you for staying with me through the whole story. This wasn't just revenge, it was reclamation. Have you ever taken back what someone tried to steal from you? Drop your story in the comments. I read every one. Tell me where you're watching from. Colorado, California, New York, Manchester, Vancouver, Melbourne, anywhere. What did you survive? How did you rebuild? If this hit home, smash that like button, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Turn on notifications because there are always more stories like this waiting to be told. See you in the next video. Stay strong out there.